What did someone do to make you hate them instantly? Someone I used to know smacked their 2-year-old really hard, like really fucking hard, in the face just because he accidentally spilled a bowl of Cheerios, no milk, on the floor. Obviously the kid started to cry and I was absolutely mortified. Ripped my brother's hearing aids out of his ears, threw them in the bus trash and wouldn't let him get back there until we told the bus driver. 29 years later and I still hate your ass, Brittany D. Smoked meth around a baby. Fuck, some of this shit is dark. I was just gonna talk about the guy who dabbed for no fucking reason while we were having lunch. Friend of a friend came out with us to a sports bar. Waitress gave him ranch instead of blue cheese for his wings and he screamed in her face. I paid my bill, gave her a really generous tip, and apologized for his behavior to her right in front of him. He just sneered at me as I left. Told my buddy to make sure me and that guy never saw each other again. Treating someone in a service job like shit is terrible. Doing it for an honest, simple to fix mistake is even worse. Never saw that guy again and I still wanna fucking smack his face. Friend came into my apartment and immediately kicked my cat. He's no longer my friend. I was walking through an airport terminal when I heard a woman tell the child in her stroller, "This is exactly why no one loves you." I still think about that kid. At a party with friends, ended up chatting with some gal. We talk about life, our boyfriends, and she casually drops, when I mention my 2 rescue dogs, that she used to have a rescued cat but since her new boyfriend didn't like cats, she just left the cat in her old flat until it starved to death. Caused those rescue people are so effing judgmental, you know. I just got up and left. It was that or slapped the teeth out her face with a brick. A coworker who asked me my zodiac sign and when I told him they got actually upset they weren't the only Capricorn at work anymore. She was 32 years old too. Insult me and threatened to take me to court because I wouldn't cover up their own unethical behavior. I was dating a man I had only recently met and I had finally invited him to my house. We were in the garden and there's a frog that hides down the side of the wall. He's always lived there. I showed him where to look and see the frog peering out. He got his drink of Coke and threw it on the frog and started laughing as if it was funny. I threw him out and rinsed the frog with water. He couldn't understand why I was upset and why I had blocked him. What a prat. Telling funny stories of abusing animals. Piss all over my toilet seat. She called me and begged to borrow some money from me and her brother without her husband knowing. She claimed it was for bills and groceries but it was all for booze and meth. I just casually mentioned them paying us back to her husband and he had no idea what I was even talking about. It was all news to him. They made more money than my husband and I at the time, but she was constantly asking us for more money. And she always tried to make it out like I was the problem for seeing right through her bullshit. Stealing my damned broccoli casserole recipe and claiming it was theirs. That thin-lipped bitch still doesn't own up to it. Since everyone is asking for it, and quite frankly a big fuck you too, Caroline. 1 stick salted butter. 1/3 of a pound Velveeta, broccoli, Ritz crackers, crushed, 1 teaspoon MSG. 1. Cook broccoli until almost done. 2. Melt butter and Velveeta together and mix it up. 2.5. Add MSG. 3. Layer crackers, broccoli and cheese mixture, with a layer of crackers on top. 4. Put in preheated oven at 350 degrees until bubbling and browned. Puffer overflow smile with horns. Smoked in my car. I was picking up some mates that were stuck in another city, ended up giving a lift to some rando and they were drunk, was a friend of a friend and they were smoking outside when I picked him and my friend up. I told him, no smoking in the car. He then puts out his cigarette and jumps in. Halfway down the motorway I hear a lighter spark up and say, "Are you smoking?" His response, "Yeah, but we're on the motorway and I know it's illegal for you to stop." So I parked up in the hard shoulder and told him, "You can walk, or you can put that out. And if I have to drag you out of this car I will." He tossed the cigarette out of the car and was an ass the entire way back. Total scum. Molested my sister, went to court. I went to court to give testimony for her. Church he was involved with made a large offer to my sister and she turned it down. She followed through with the trial. It was never about the money for her, it was justice. Dude is rotting in hell right now. They lost the case. Sister was awarded double what the church offered, but it does not matter, she still cries about it. It affected her entire life. She did not want the money, she wanted the satisfaction of the church admitting that they are scum and were attempting to cover it up, for decades. Moved this POS from church to church. Mom doesn't understand why we are not religious. I would spit on his grave if I knew where it is. Ignored all the times I said no to him nicely, and then when I finally blew up and got angry at him, he had the audacity to say, "Then why didn't you just say no?" Oh Lord. Allow me to tell you the story of my old school bully, Jacob. Jacob was a fucking cunt. Stole my lunch, insulted me constantly behind my back, talked shit about my own friends to me, stole my school supplies, and to top it off was a pathological liar to an enormous degree. I had the last laugh though as one day he started shit-talking me to an 8th grade. Except that 8th grader was no normal 8th grader. That 8th grader was my older brother who promptly shoved him against the locker, gave him one good hard punch in the face, and told him if he ever caught him talking shit about me again he would knock his teeth out. To this day I still respect my brother highly for standing up for me and love him dearly. You care if I throw this out your window? Yes, and I hate you for even asking that. Don't throw your trash into the street. Filmed himself having sex with a good friend of mine. She had no idea she was being filmed. Then invited some of her co-workers to watch the film. He had several videos of other women he had filmed without their consent. Garbage human. Yes, police and his now former employer were notified. She kept insulting her friend in front of me. I think she thought it was cute or something. And it was clear her friend was feeling uncomfortable about it, even at one point telling her to stop, which just made her repeatedly insult her more. Now whenever she comes by to talk I get this shiver of disgust down my spine. Outwardly lied about cheating. I had evidence, everything, and as soon as he didn't own up to it I woke up and had an exit plan from his abusive ass. They shot my dog. Last Friday, I was away from home, with my mom watching the place. She called and told me I needed to get home quickly, as my dog was hurt really bad. He bled out while she was trying to get him to the vet. It was an awful scene. I had to do a necropsy to figure out what happened. Near as I can figure, a poacher shot him while he patrolled the neighbor's field. Neighbor is an absentee landowner who runs cattle on that place. I don't know who it was, but I know that I hate them with every fiber of my being. I already hated poachers. I hate this one in a way that should frighten him very much. Laughed at my budgie dying. I still hate that bitch. More than 13 years later. Fuck you Justine, you heartless bitch. Saw someone kick a dog once. Who kicks a dog? Edit. I understand that if it's a self-defense situation, it's a different story. The guy the first saw casually kicked a stray dog as he walked by. Totally unprovoked. Grabbed a girl who cowered away, and raised his hand at her. The whole situation was indicative that it wasn't the first time. Someone I thought of as family, abusing someone in my bar. Saw it on the cameras and ran out to the porch to kick him out. Didn't take the dog to the vet. Dog ended up getting parvo and died. I do not like animal abuses at all. I was in middle school reading Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and told a girl that I was a few chapters away from finishing and she said, "Oh. So you don't know that Dumbledore dies yet?" Less than, me. Excuse me. Her. Oh my gosh. Yes, Dumbledore dies and Snape kills him. Less than, 0.13 years later and I still hate her. Husband brought a workmate home one night and we were talking and somehow got onto the subject of how he had an affair. He proceeded to sit there and tell us that it was his wife's fault and he only cheated because he wasn't getting enough sex from her since she gave birth and he was feeling neglected since she was always taking care of the baby. He wasn't allowed back and I couldn't stand to look at him or even acknowledge him whenever I ran into him after that night. Fuck you Pete, you're a piece of shit and I hope your wife eventually left you. The father of my ex-girlfriend's kids treated them like shit. These were fantastic kids, smart, funny, deeply compassionate. I never wanted kids and these were incredible ones. When I met him, I literally didn't say a word to him because I was so fucking angry. They were rude to their wife in front of me. Harm animals. This is probably one of the few things that instantly make me violent towards someone. Pretended to be my friend and then started sexually assaulting and harassing me as a sick game and got off on humiliating me over it in front of people. It was hard to get away from him because he's pretty popular and is a good deal bigger than me, but he's left me alone now for the most part. Seeing him around makes me uneasy, but it's better than before. A security guard beat a stray dog to death with a stick and buried it. I hope that low life rots in hell. Absolute scum. Boasted about getting banned from a pub. You don't get banned from a pub by doing anything other than being a dick. I was right, she was a giant narcissist. Not changing the toilet tissue after finishing it. Went to large family gathering at my grandparents' house. I was 16 and my niece was there too. A neighbor of my grandparents was a trusted friend, and was invited also. At one point I found myself sitting with this neighbor at a table at the cricket club. Niece and nephew approached us. This guy jokes, "Do you want her first, or are you okay with sloppy seconds?" She was 9 yo. Not willing to ignore it, I reported it to the family. That then led to a larger argument with some folks defending the guy as joking, and some wanting to call the police. A lot of people wound up on my shit list for defending him. Good times. Good times. Raped my daughter. When he was sentenced to jail, though, I put money on someone's books to pass the word around that he was a known child rapist. I hope he gets ass raped every day. I dropped a friend once because she told us that she physically takes out her anger on her live-in housemaid who's quite old, to be honest. She was laughing as she told us this, even demonstrated how she kicked her. I try to never judge people, but I will not tolerate abuse. I mean, damn, there was no remorse whatsoever. Fucked my wife. Funny side note, took me a while longer to hate her. Not so funny side note, took me a little while longer to learn forgiveness and not hate either of them. Serious note, neither is my friend, nor would I ever trust either of them. A college teacher said vaccines cause autism and couldn't stand to be corrected by me. She was teaching people who want to work with kids. Inexcusable. Screaming at me on Xmas Day in front of all of the little kids and destroying their day. Bitch. Being balls deep in my girlfriend in my own bed pretty much sealed it. Edit. I hated both of them for it. Just to clarify, it takes two to tango. He talked about getting girls drunk enough to go home with him. People like that need a warning label, at minimum. Went on a double date with my wife's friend and her husband. He snapped his fingers at the waitress. I was absolutely fucking horrified and said to her, "Don't mind this guy, he's a fucking idiot and I just met him tonight. Sorry for his appalling behavior." My wife and her friend were shocked, but I wasn't about to get tarred with his shit-covered brush. Anytime since I've heard about him from my wife, he's doing something else rude or inconsiderate to his spouse, which doesn't surprise me in the least. Robbie, if you're reading this, it's about you, mate. I work at a consulting firm. This one woman was asked to prepare a proposal. She deleted my bio from the proposal. Stole my joke. Fuck you. Don't steal my jokes, and don't be dumb enough to use my own joke on me, assuming I forgot that it was mine. Fuck you. Made fun of my dad cancer. Best part is the teacher joined in on it. This girl is looking to work in medical field. One of my friends was one of them. "I'll do you this favor if you do two for me" types, and one day it went from me, "Can you pick me up from work so we can go on this night out?" Him, "Yeah, but only if you buy me cocaine when we are there." Made my own way, of course, and found out he bought coke. Then I find out he's trying to force another friend of mine go take it. Safe to say at that point I disowned him as a person, and really wanted to just floor the cunt.